Product research is the most important part because that will determine if you are going to get sales. What is up, everyone? My name is Pat Harris and I'm an Amazon FBA seller. In this video, I'm going to go over how I do my own product research and give you everything I look for when I'm trying to determine if that is a good product to sell. There's a lot of different techniques out there. There's no right or wrong, but this is how I do it. Product research is the most important part because that will determine if you are going to get sales. Now, if you launch a bad product, you are not going to get sales. If you launch a good product, you could get a lot of sales. So spend your time doing product research. It could take a month, it could take a week, but don't rush it. It is really important. And hopefully this video will clarify things of what to look for so you could determine if that is a good product to sell. I made this video because a lot of people in my FBA Facebook group, which you could check out in the description below, but new sellers will say, hey, does this look like a good product to sell? And they'll put a screenshot of Helium 10 or Jungle Scout, and then you'll get a ton of comments saying, no, it looks like the revenue's too low or there's too many reviews. So I'm going to clarify that in this video, and we are going to dive into my computer. Before we jump into it, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, that would be amazing. I also have an FBA Facebook group that's free to join. You could join below in the description. All right, so now we are done with all this boring stuff. Let's jump into my computer and show you how I do my own product research. Let's go. What is up, everyone? Welcome. We are inside of my computer, and what you are looking at is Helium 10. This is what I use for all of my product and keyword research. These are all the features they offer. If you want to check it out, you could use my discount code, which will give you 50% off, and it's in the description below. Over here we have my product research checklist. I put this together to help you out for this video, but these are all the main things that I look for when I'm trying to find a good product to sell on Amazon. So let's go over it real quick and then we'll jump into it. So the main thing is product differentiation. You don't want to sell what someone else is already selling on Amazon. You want to create a better product that adds value, so you could have a bundled product that complements your main product, have a different feature that adds value to the product, do a different design or color, anything that will make your product different than what's already selling. So differentiation is key to getting good sales. The second is the review count. This determines how competitive it will be. There's a lot of different opinions out there, but I say find products that have under 200 reviews. I know some of the gurus will say under 50 reviews, but that is almost impossible to find these days. People are getting 50 reviews in a month now. So my rule is under 200. Right now I'm competing with sellers over 500 reviews and I am doing better than them. So it is possible as long as your product is better. But when you get into the thousands of reviews, that's where it gets really competitive and you need a big budget to compete with these sellers. It is also a lot harder to rank for the keywords when you have sellers that have tons of money and they have tons of reviews, they're getting all the sales. Why would a customer buy your product over someone that has 5,000 reviews? So keep that in mind. Unless you have a huge budget and a lot of money to spend on PPC or a large customer base, it is almost impossible to compete against the sellers that have over 1,000 reviews. Now the next thing is the average BSR of page one sellers is below 50K. BSR stands for best seller rank, and an example is if you have a 500 BSR, that means for every 500 sales in that whole category, someone is buying your product. So the lower the BSR, the better. And what I do is I use Helium 10's X-ray, which we will do later, but I want to see all of the top sellers on page one. I want to make sure the average is below 50K. If the average is like 150,000, that means there's not that many people buying that product and it's not in demand. So the lower the BSR for all of the sellers, the better. The next one is it seasonal or a trend? So think of a fidget spinner. That was a really popular trend that died out. You could look at Google Trends and look at the charts, and then I also look on Helium 10's X-ray. I look at that chart to see if there's any spikes, but you don't want to sell a seasonal product because you won't get sales for most of the year. The next thing is the sale price is greater than $15. This could be different, but I want to find a product that's above $15 for the sale price because I want to have enough profit margin to actually make money. If you're selling something at $5 or $10, the chances are you will lose money because there's not a big enough profit margin after the cost of the product, all of the fees, all of the FBA fees, the referral fee, the storage fees, so you're not going to make money. So my goal is to have above a $15 sale price so you have a big enough profit to actually make money. The next thing is the profit margin is greater than 30%. My goal is to be above a 30% profit margin because PPC and there's other factors that will eat your budget. So the higher the profit margin, the better. So you could use the FBA fee calculator to calculate your profit. The next thing is the seller's revenue at the bottom of page 1 is between $5,000 and $8,000. I'll show you an example, but I want to make sure when I'm using Helium-10 that most of the sellers on the bottom of page 1 are actually doing really good revenue, and I go by $5,000 to $8,000. So if your profit margin is 30%, you're at least making $2,000 to $3,000 a month in profit if you're lucky, and that is what I go after, and I will show you that later. The next is the simple products, no moving parts, not fragile. If you sell a mirror, the chances are that it's going to break during shipment and then you will get hit with a ton of bad reviews. Some people will say electronics are kind of risky because you could get a bad product or a manufacturer. And then if it's like a phone charger, it doesn't work with certain products, and then people will leave reviews, hey, it doesn't work with my phone, and you will get hit with a lot of returns. So I choose the simple products like a bag that's not going to break during shipment. There's no moving parts. And that is just an example of a easy, simple product. The next is monthly units sold. So you want to make sure that there's a lot of sales on the page 1. I use X-ray to look at that, but I will show you that later. You just want to make sure that there's actually people buying the product. The other thing is the main keyword search volume. I like to have at least like 30 or 40 keywords with above 1,000 monthly searches. I use Cerebro and Helium-10, which we will go over, but I want to make sure that there's a lot of keywords that I could target within my PPC campaigns, and I could put those keywords throughout my title, my description, my backend keywords, so I could rank for those keywords. If there's only like 2 keywords that I could target, then it's not worth it. That means it's not in demand and no one is searching for your product. The next thing is read the bad reviews. I already went over that. And don't compete with Amazon's brands like Amazon Basics or any big brands out there. They have huge budgets and chances are you will never be able to rank to page 1 if they are the top seller. And then the other thing is make sure it doesn't have a patent. Pretty straightforward. You could use a patent lawyer on Fiverr or Upwork and they can see if the product has a patent. Other than that, that's about it. Let's jump into it and I'll show you what I do in action. Let's go. Okay, so we are in Amazon, and for this example, I am going to use a cheese board. I use this in my course as well because I was going to do this a while back, but I never did because I realized it's a bad product, and let me show you why. So the first thing I do is I think, how can I differentiate a cheese board? Right away, cheese boards are kind of hard to differentiate. You could do like a bundled product, but if you look at all of these, they almost look the same. You could have like a different shape, like this is a circle one. But what was already on here, I couldn't come up with a design or something different that would make someone buy mine over all of these. A lot of these look the same, and it's pretty hard to differentiate a chunk of wood. So if you look at the top seller, which is right here, this is the first organic listing for cheese boards, and they have almost 1,000 reviews. Right away, I could tell that's pretty competitive. Since I can't differentiate the product, it's competitive. Those are already bad signs. This looks like a good picture and it looks really professional, so I can't make the listing any better. And what else here? So then once I see that, then I'll go, okay, let's see what the revenue is. So I'll run the extension here. Okay, now that it's loaded, first thing I do is I look at the revenue of all the non-sponsored ads. So from here down, and this is that #1 seller. So they are doing $54,000 in revenue a month, which is really good. But then if, like I said, when I go to the bottom of page 1, I want to make sure that all of these sellers are doing like at least $5,000 to $8,000 in revenue. And you can see there's a pretty big drop off in revenue here. There's some sellers that are doing decent, but like this person has over 100 reviews. If you start out, you could get 9 reviews in maybe a month or 2, and you would be making $483 in revenue, or $1,800. This person has 15 reviews, and they only have $323 in revenue. So you could see there's only a couple main sellers that are doing really good. All of these other sellers down here have really low revenue, and it looks like a lot of them just started out, so that's why their revenue is low. But I want to see all of these bottom sellers have good revenue, so I know that there's a lot of people making money on page 1. The goal is to get to page 1. You're not going to start on page 1, so think of this as like the final run. You want to get here. If you're on page 3, you're going to get way less sales, so you want to make sure that there's enough sales on page 1 to even get there. So that's what I look at. I also remember the BSR. I want to make sure that it's under 50,000. Obviously it's at 43,000, so they are getting sales, but it is probably a combination of those top sellers with a couple thousand reviews. And then here, I look for seasonality. If it's seasonal, I'll click on the chart, and then I will go to the 1 year chart, and you could see, boom, it's a seasonal product. They are selling units down here, but this is the top ranked cheese board, and they're only selling about 30 units a day. So if you're on the bottom of page 1 or page 2, the chances are you're going to get minimal sales. So during Christmas time, the product does really good, so I could tell that it is pretty seasonal. Again, here's Christmas time, and they get a lot of sales during that time, but other than that, there are low sales, like there's 15 sales a day, and that's the top ranked product, so they are not getting many sales. So that's another red flag. And the sale price looks good. You could probably make a decent profit margin off of that. But the main reasons I wouldn't choose this product is I can't differentiate the cheese board enough to make it worth it. It's a block of wood. The sales on the bottom of page 1 are pretty low. There's a couple main sellers. It's a seasonal item, and that is why I didn't go with this product. So let me pull up another product that actually has really good revenue, but the only thing is it's really competitive. So I'm only using this as an example for the revenue, but let me show you here. So wireless charging station. I actually got one of these for Christmas. It's pretty cool, but it is really competitive if you wanted to sell them. Like this guy has 6,000 reviews, so right away, it's going to be hard to compete with that. A lot of these are the Chinese suppliers as well. But let me pull up X-Ray here and show you what the revenue is on these products. So right away you could tell like the BSR is way lower. It's around 11,000 instead of 40,000 like on the cheese board. So these are selling a lot more. And then if you look at the revenue, even at the bottom of page 1, let me expand the results. All of these guys are doing like over 20,000 and they're at the bottom of page 1. So in the cheese boards, these guys down here were doing like $500 to $1,000 in revenue. But if you look at the revenue on this product, a lot of people are making good money, and even some with like low reviews. Like this person has 28 reviews and they're doing $29,000 in revenue. But again, it's a really competitive product. If you look at these reviews, 3,600 reviews, 1,000 reviews. It's an electronic item, so you got to make sure that there's a good manufacturer. And how can you differentiate this charger from all of the other chargers that are on there? This person has 27,000 reviews, so they're the #1 seller, $308,000 a month. So I was just showing you this as an example of what to look for and how it's a good product. If you got rid of the reviews and the actual product, everything else looks good, like the revenue, the BSR, and the price is a good price point because it's over $15. So if you get rid of this column right here, which I'll white out, everything else looks good. But that is an example of what the chart should look like for a great product. You can also check the sales chart. Let me go to the #1 seller just to show you that it's not seasonal. During Christmas it spiked up, but as you can see, even after Christmas, they're still doing over 100 units a day. So these are really high and in demand, and that is how you know it is a good product, by seeing that many sellers with that high of revenue and the BSR being that low. So now you've seen a bad product, you've seen a good product minus the competitiveness, and let me show you one other thing that I do. So let me type in little box for... So when I do product research, sometimes I'll just type in random words and see what Amazon recommends I type in, and then I will do my research that way. So little box for wedding. And right away I can see that this is the #1 seller. It's really cheap, and they have 648 reviews. But if you look at all the other sellers on page 1, they're on here and they're not even sponsored. Like this doesn't even have a review, and they're all on page 1. So that can mean two things. It's either a new product or there's not enough demand. So I'm going to check that with X-Ray and see what I could do. I can differentiate this product, maybe have different words or a different design on these boxes. They all look different, so they're not selling the same exact thing, although this looks pretty similar to this one and that one. So you wouldn't want to sell that one. They're all competing against each other. But let me run X-Ray here and show you the numbers. So here's that #1 seller. They're doing pretty good. Their revenue's at 32,000. But look at the BSR. So that means that the average sales of all of these products is really low. So the higher the BSR, the less sales for that product. So this product in the whole category is only getting one sale for every 119 sales in the whole category. So if you looked at the chargers, it was around 11,000. So you want to have a lower BSR. That means it's in higher demand. But also if you look at the revenue of all of these sellers down here, their revenue is pretty low. Remember I said between 5 and 8,000. There's some sellers that will hit that, but if you come down to the bottom of the page, remember you're not going to start at the bottom of the page. You're going to be on like page 2 or 3 or even further back. So once you get to page 1, like this person has 17 reviews, they only have $250 in revenue. This person has almost 100 reviews and they only have $3,300 in revenue. So if you look at the charging chart, like what I just went over, a lot of the sellers have low reviews, but they're making over $20,000 in revenue a month. So keep that in mind when you see a product with a lot of low reviews. Just realize it's probably not in demand. Look at the BSR, and if it is over 50,000, that means that it is not a high demand product and you're not going to make that many sales. All right, so one other thing, what I'll do is I will see how many keywords and what I can target for my PPC campaigns. So let me go back to cheese board here and show you what I do to make sure that I could actually target this product. So say I was gonna go with this cheese board and I thought it's a great product. What I'll do is I'll take the ASIN right here, I'll copy it and I'll paste it into Cerebro, and then I'll hit get keywords. Sorry, my chair keeps squeaking. It makes a lot of weird noises. I need a new chair. And then here we go. So I have it organized from highest to lowest. And the first thing I'll do is I'll look for the most relevant keyword, which is cheese board. And it has 40,000 monthly searches. But as you can see in this column, you have to sell 528 units, an estimate, for an 8-day span. So that's over 50 units a day. Did I do the math right? Yeah, something like that. So you're gonna have to sell over 50 units a day to rank for this keyword. That is why I always tell people go for the lower search keywords. It'll be a lot cheaper and easier to rank for. So I wanna make sure that I could actually get like 30 to 40 keywords or more so I could target them in my whole listing. So let me go to page 4 and see if there's enough keywords to target here. Let's see. So you could do serving board, and that has 1,800 monthly searches. And you could see it'll be a lot easier to rank because you only have to sell 56 units in an 8-day period. That's under 10 units a day. So it's a lot easier to rank. You could get there and then be there organically. So that's where the organic sales come in. Again, I'm not going to do it in this video because it will take forever, but you want to have at least 30 to 40 keywords you could target in your PPC campaigns and use throughout your whole product listing, product title. All right, so that's about it. I will make more videos on this stuff, but I hope you enjoyed. Again, if you want to check out Helium 10 or try it, you could use my discount code in the description below to save 50% off. And that's about it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to join my free FBA Facebook group, it's in the description below. Just send a request and I'll approve you. And that is about it. All right, have a great day and I will see you later. Goodbye.